Alright, I thought about doing a video slightly different than what I usually do, which is battling. Today was day one of the European International Championship. So we have our top 32. Well, a lot of our top 32 actually played on stream. Well, 11 out of 32, but Marcus uses the same team as Wolf and Aaron, so you can count his team as one of them. Here we have the standings. If you go to Victory Road, you can read them better. I don't want to read it down the line because I'm actually horrible at pronouncing names, so I don't want to be slaughtering everybody's names up and down, but you can go ahead and you can look at that if you want. However, I'm going to go to the Team Builder and Showdown, and I kind of went over everybody's teams that I saw on stream. Some things are speculations, while other things are pretty concrete. So Javar, we didn't get to see his wheezing. However, I do think it's probably a common set one. There's not too many ways to run your wheezings, and so it's either going to be a Focus Sash or Shook a Berry on it. The EV standards are usually going to be at, 252 HP, 252 speed with a Timid. That's usually how they're ran. So he had a Rillaboom. We do know for a fact that it had a max EV'd HP of 207. However, we only saw Fake Out and Grassy Glide, so not really sure what the rest of the sets are to be accurate. Let's see here. Okay, this way I actually look at the camera. I had it on my other screen. So his next Pokemon is going to be Porygon. We really only saw foul play with it. However, we could imply that it has recovery and Trick Room. Is probably going to be some type of speed control, so I'm going to go for a Trick Room. We didn't see the other two abilities activate, so it's going to be Analytic. We did see the HP, so we know that it's at 192. Now, for the defensive stats, I kind of went with a more common set for the Porygons. Now, the reason I chose this one is that you actually get a bump on the special defense right here. So this is a bump, so it goes from 41 to 43. So that'd probably be the most optimal set to get the most amount of points out of it. So I think that would be what they most likely go with. Gmax Blastoise, we just saw it got one-shotted. From its HP stat, though, it does have a 84 in EVs, so I don't know what the set was supposed to do. I'm assuming that it's going to be Timid, 172 to benchmark, and then, max special attack. I don't know the item. I would assume it's Torrent, because if you get it at low HP, then it does do more damage. And I assume it has Hydro Cannon, but besides for the HP, I'm not really too sure. His Dialga was interesting. It actually had 4 attacks and 20 EVs in HP. I'm going with it has Roar Time, or it might have Draco Meteor, but it doesn't really make a difference. It had Earth Power. It either had Steel Beam or Flash Cannon, and then it actually had Flamethrower. You actually saw it use Flamethrower, so it had 4 moves. I think it had an Assault Vest, but I'm unsure. It could also have had Dialga's special little orb, so it could have had an Adamant Orb as well, but I think Assault Vest would make sense with it having 4 moves and no Trick Room. Because of the lack of Trick Room, that's where I lean towards Assault Vest. I didn't run a bunch of calcs because I don't know everybody's actual spread, so... Alright, the last one is his Zacian. His Zacian, it seems like everybody's running bulky Zacians this Icy. So it had Protect, Substitute, Behemoth Blade, and Sacred Sword. We knew all that, and then the HP stat was at 193, so that puts 204. So if you do Adamant Nature with 228, which puts you at 197, you get the bump, which is the 2-point change at 76. So that's where I would put it. They were pretty fast, and you already get the attack bonus, so I think this is where most people are running it for the bulkier ones. All right, so that is our first seat team. Now, our second seat team I found pretty pretty amazing, but we actually are missing a lot of information on it. So I'm pretty sure that we have wide lens on our Venusaur. So it had 156, so this is just going to be a standard quick Venusaur. I'm pretty sure it had wide lens on it. I didn't see any life orb. You could probably put an extra belt on it if you really wanted to, but I think it would have picked up the KO onto that Zacian if it did. Wide lens lets you hit all those sleep powders, and a lot of people right now are kind of weak to Venusaur, so I think this is where we went. We did see that it had Weather Ball, which always is a good tech. I'm assuming it's Frenzy Plant. It could also be Leaf Storm, but Frenzy Plant's, just slightly better. His Incineroar. It's max HP, so I don't know if he maxed out anything else. Usually Incineroars are pretty bulky. They're usually careful, or they can be relaxed, or any other kind of defensive natured ones. It could be adamant, but I'm not too sure. We did see Fake Out Parting Shot and Flare Blitz. The last one's probably Throat Chop. It could be Darkest Lariat as well, but it didn't show it in stream, so I can't really tell you. Tapu Fini, didn't see it. I was super interested in the Tapu Fini though. I'd like to say I think it's a Calm Mindset, but I'm really unsure. I think this helps with the Trick Room setup, but this is a really good Techmon, especially when you're having other Venusaurs. I think he was worried about other Venusaurs. So, very interesting. Lunala was cool. Actually, 2 Lunalas on stream. So, he had max HP, so I'm assuming it was max HP, max special attack. You got your Moongeist Beam and your Meteor Beam. I'm assuming it has either Protect or Trick Room, and then either another coverage move or Wide Guard. Not too sure, but he pretty much just used Moongeist Beam and Meteor Beam, so Thunderous, didn't get to see it. Going off of how the team looks, I would like to say that it is going to be a support Thunderous, but I'm unsure. It could be a Defiant Thunderous and try to scare away the Incineroars, so and unless you went to EUIC, the actual competition, I don't think you would know unless you started asking around. All right, and our last one is Groudon. We do know it's an Assault Vest Groudon. It has Precipitates, and it also has Heat Crash. It's also max HP, which was surprising to me that a lot of them are max HP. So if they're Assault Vests, you get a little bit more benefit out of putting it in special defense. However, I guess with the Assault Vest giving you that extra boost, technically then HP would be the most beneficial. So this team is actually fairly information reclusive for the streams. He only played in one stream, and it was only 2 games, so you really couldn't gather too much. And that was our second seat. All right, so then we drop down all the way to the 6th seat, so we don't have, 3 through 5. So this was the Solgaleo team, which was pretty cool. Now, we didn't know all 4 of Solgaleo's moves. We only knew the Sunsteel Strike, Earthquake, Trick Room. I would like to say the last one's either going to be Wild Charge or Flare Blitz or something like that. I'm not really sure, but Wild Charge would make sense. It would help out into Kyogre sets. We do know that it was max HP, so I'm thinking max HP, max attack, or we probably cut down on attack, and give it some more bulk, give it some more special bulk. We could cut down quite a bit actually, especially if you go over about how much. Let's see. Do we have a bump? Especially if you go over after it doubles with weakness policy, different KOs. You could probably optimize this quite a bit. 172 seems pretty nice. I'd probably set it there. You can just mess around with the EVs sometimes. Sometimes they don't matter as much. When you go into a competition, you kind of just min-max. Another Groudon Assault Vest, full HP. Probably full attack. Or, very close to it. A lot of these aren't running any speed, or they might be running like the 20 in their speed. We knew it had Precipiblades, Bulldoze, and I think it had Fire Punch. They usually carry at least one fire move, either Fire Punch or Heat Crash. And Heat Crash works out pretty well since Groudon is a very heavy mon. Another Venusaur. Pretty sure this was Wildland's too. Very awesome. Just base set. Let's see, I think this one only had 155, so you put the 4 like in, I think it'd go in defense. But technically HP would be slightly better since the base is lower. But it doesn't really matter too much. Not too much to say about that. I mean, this good general mon, especially in the meta at the current state, especially with the sleep powders, I don't think there's too much blocking it at the moment. Your Incineroar didn't bring it. Don't know anything about it. Thundurus, we knew this is what was having the Focus Sash. It has Brutal Swing, activating Solgaleo's weakness policy. Also, the Groudon had Bulldoze to activate Solgaleo's weakness policy, which was pretty cool. And then Thundurus had Thunderbolt, Eerie Impulse, and Scary Face. It was a support set. HP was low. Doesn't really matter at that point. You just try to outspeed and do as much damage as you can when you can. Suicune, we don't really know what set it was. He didn't bring it in the stream. However, I'm going to say that it has Inner Focus. That's the best ability. You can't flinch it. Most of them get Tailwind. So I'm sure it had Tailwind. It probably had Scald as a stab. Usually it carries Snarl. And it might have had Protect or an Ice move. Or it might have had Icy Wind. And then sometimes they have Leftovers or Citrus Berry. Usually you try to run these pretty bulky. You always get the best out of HP since it's your lowest defense stat. You might run a few here to outrun certain things if you're thinking about it, but generally your HP 252, you spread out the rest to what you think is appropriate. You might throw a couple here. See, I think if you add it to 120, you probably want it to be calm or relaxed. I think I would make it calm. Just because you're going to take more special attacks. Let's see here. There we go. Nope. So, you could do that. And that would be a fairly decent set. Most physical attacks are going to be like things that you resist. So, the common physical stuff is going to be like your Groudons and things like that. Zacian, which once again you're going to resist the Behemoth Blades. So, I mean, you probably going to run something similar to that. Just as a quick little thing. Alright. So, going on to our 7th seat. We actually had quite a bit here. This was a very cool Whimsicott with Cotton Spore. Whenever you make a Whimsicott, when it's sashed, it's always just 252, 252, 4. Or you could put 4 into one of the defenses. It doesn't matter. And they're usually timid. This just gets at you most. It probably has Moonblast and maybe Taunt. Some of them might be carrying Trick Room, which is pretty cool tech as well. But this guarantees you speed control no matter what. Unless they go Trick Room, which is where the Moongus comes in. The Kyogre was Scarfed. It had the minimum amount of HP, maximum, but minimum. So no EVs in HP, which you get the most benefit out of defense anyways, so that's what they did. It was just 252, 252. I believe it's modest. It could be timid. If you're timid, you outspeed the Zacians and the Calyrexes. However, since a lot of the Zacian, and you never outspeed the Regielekis, but since a lot of the Zacians are running Adamant or not full speed, if you run the modest ones, which I was trying, if you run the modest Scarf Kyogres, you outspeed most of the Zacians, and you Oko them with their bulk because you're modest. But Timid's always the safer choice if you want to make sure you outspeed them. Zacian, another one where 197, so that's 236 EVs in HP. So, I'm pretty sure it's like the 76 attack, and then you put the rest into speed. That's probably that's what a lot of these sets are looking like for Zacian. So, your Kyogre is at 142, so that puts you at 71, so that puts you at 213. So if you do 213, you plenty outspeed that. I mean, even if you do a Jolly one, you would even outspeed a Jolly one of the same set. So it did outspeed his Zacian, so it could have been Jolly, and you hit the 213, or it could have been Adamant. Either way, the Kyogre outsped, so you can choose. Zapdos, we knew it had 20 in HP, so I'm assuming that it's Timid. That allows you to tie with the Charizards, any of the other base 100s. That also make sure you outspeed any of the, we don't call them primals anymore, but Kyogre and Groudons. It also lets you outspeed Palkia and stuff like that. Even if they're running it faster, you could speed tie them at least. And then you always outspeed your Yveltals, which is important. Special attack, I think that he put the rest of it straight in special attack. We did see that it was static. We did see that it had rising voltage. Pretty sure it had Hurricane. Well, I knew it had Hurricane. Heat Wave is more of a speculation, but I'm pretty sure that was the last move. Amoonguss, we don't know. You probably run it as a common set, but we already know that the Focus Sash is used, so it probably has a Koba Berry in it. Regenerator is always a good one. You could be a little spicy and run Effect Spore, but Regenerator is the better one if you're gonna switch it in and out. And the common move set for it nowadays is Spore. You also have the Pollen Puff. Oops. You always run Rage Powder. Most of them run Protect, but you can forego Protect for either a Grass move and give it Grass Knot, or you can give it Sludge Bomb, but Grass Knot's probably a little bit more superior. You could also give it Giga Drain. Grass Knot lets you KO Kyogres, and it lets you do massive damage to Groudon as well. Kartana, we didn't get to see a lot of it, but we pretty sure it's an Assault Vest. We know that has 68 in HP. Usually if they're going to be Assault Vests, they're like something like this. I think they're I think they're something like this, if I recall. And then they're Jolly. Something along those lines is usually what an Assault Vest Kartana is. It's been a while since I've seen one. It could be 152. It's probably 152. It's gonna be something like that. So that is it for that team. That's our 7th seat. We'll see how placement goes. Well, when they battle off. EUIC, Joey UX9. He's been very good in this last meta. He actually was one of the people who made the Ring of Sun so popular, which he changed it up this time. So he was running a Yveltal team, which was pretty cool. So we have Yveltal here. I know his HP. Now, the rest of it's kind of some speculation, but I have some pretty good evidence for some of it. So HP, no for a fact. Speed, he actually, when he was using it, he outsped his own Venusaur, right? So Venusaur is at 146 or 145. So I'm pretty sure he's at 146 here. And he also undersped Ben's Regigigas, which I believe is a slightly higher speed, but not by much. So Yveltal, he might be Black Glasses. We really didn't confirm what the item was because he didn't take. He could be Expert Belt. He could be. He wasn't Leftovers. He wasn't any of those. He could be Big Beak, which would have been kind of funny. But we really didn't see his item. It didn't come into play really. We know he had Oblivion Wing. I'm pretty sure it's Dark Pulse. It could be Snarl, but I'm pretty sure it was Dark Pulse. He had Protect, and then I'm pretty sure the last move was Heat Wave. I didn't show it, but I'm pretty sure that was what it was. If he was Expert Belt, it would be pretty good. If he was Dark Glasses, that would also do well. Big Beak, so he could get more Oblivion Wing damage for more healing. All those are good. So pretty much, I went ahead and this is kind of a common set that I remembered from before, like 2016 kind of set. So you pretty much get your boosts. So his speed, we put it right there. Special defense, I kind of just played around with the numbers. I think that looked pretty good. I think that's probably what it is overall. Just because the speed stat, and then going off the speed stat, you still want some decent damage and some decent bulk. So Incineroar, didn't really see it too much. It had Fake Out. It probably was just a common set one. No reason why I wouldn't have Parting Shot, and it probably had Flare Blitz of some, Flare Blitz, and then it probably had a dark move, either Throat Chop or Darkest Lariat. Oh, I forgot to put his HP. I think he was maxed too. I would have to look back at the video, but I think he was maxed. His Groudon was max HP. It was Assault Vest. We definitely saw that because when the Shedinja went and used Poltergeist, it showed that he has Assault Vest. So we saw that he had, good old P-Blades. He had Heat Crash. He probably either had Stone Edge or Rock Slide, and then he probably had either, a Steel move, which would go ahead and put us at Heavy Slam or Iron Head. He could have. I've seen a couple people have Shadow Claw on their Groudons, but I don't think he did. I think it would have been one of those. Porygon 2. It probably had a good old. We saw that it had Trick Room, and I'm pretty sure it had Foul Play. Everybody is running Foul Play on their Porygon 2, and they all are being analytic. This is the same as before. This is the common set. I think this. If you're running Foul Play, you don't have to run any attack investments, so you run full bulk and then go off there. Venusaur, common set. Like I said before, he outsped his own Venusaur with the Yveltal, so I know the Yveltal's at least 1 speed higher. But slower than Ben's Regigigas, which I think is at like 150. His Regieleki, it had Electroweb, and I believe it had Thunderbolt. It had 28 HP in it. It's either Magnet or Choice Specs. We really didn't get to see because it faced off against the Shedinja, so it didn't matter. Alright, so that's it for Joey's team. We're going down to Oliver. He faced Ashton Cox, and Ashton barely missed cut, which is kind of sad, and I really like Ashton and his teams. So, once again, super bulky Zacian, 228, 196 is where it hits. I'm thinking, the 76 attack is where most people are putting it. And then that puts you at 204, so that's 194 speed. We saw Behemoth Blade and Protect. Didn't see anything else. Kyogre, we're going with Mystic Water. It had Protect, so it's a good evidence that it has Mystic Water. Water Spout, Origin Pulse. It also was fairly bulky. It had a 140 into HP, which put it at 193. So I think the rest of it went into Special Attack and Speed. It could have had some more in defense to reach certain calcs, but at 140 HP, that's a lot of bulk. It might be surviving some wild charges. That might be something that it's calced for. I didn't go ahead and calc for anything like that for a 140. Whenever I use damage calcs to calc for things, I kind of, like I would do like Rillaboom Grassy Glide. I'd probably do Regieleki, Thunderbolt, Regieleki, Wild Charge, and then I might try one of the D-Max moves, but a Max Lightning probably just OHKOs it, especially if it's from Wild Charge. Rillaboom, we got it as an Assault Vest. Max HP again. I'm pretty sure it's Max Attack. Grassy Glide, Fake Out, and it had the knockoff. So this last move is probably either U-Turn or High Horsepower. One of those. I'm not too big of the Assault Vest fan. I kind of like the Miracle Seed a little bit better. Assault Vest seems like it's been lacking a lot of power. But this could also be Wood Hammer. Wood Hammer, especially with the Miracle Seed version, just OHKOs Groudons, even D-Max Groudons, Dynamax Groudons just get OHKO'd by Wood Hammer inside terrain, so that's why you run Miracle Seed with Wood Hammer. We didn't see the Incineroar. We didn't see the Landorus. Tornadus, 4 HP. We knew it had the Focus Sash, it had Protect, and it had Heat Wave and Hurricane. Just a standard support set, as much as it could be. All right. We only saw 2 games with Oliver. So next is our Wolf, Aaron, and then Marcus team. I have a question mark here because I wasn't sure, but when I looked on Wolf's Twitter, it seemed like he put Aaron, Wolf, Marcus scores up there. So I'm assuming they all run this. Normally, they all run the same team. Anytime I've ever encountered them at any regionals or nationals or whatever else, they're always running the same team building together. So this makes sense to me. Whimsicott, didn't get to see it. I would have liked to see it. I'm going to go for that. It probably has Taunt, maybe a Trick Room, or and it has, it most definitely has Tailwind at least. It might have Cotton Spore. Besides for that, I don't know. I'm thinking it's Mental Herb. The Focus Sash is on the Calyrex, so it probably has Mental Herb. Or maybe it's one of the tricky ones, and actually has Swaparoo with an eject button, but I don't know. Yeah, they never brought it. That's the one downside to having a group bring the same team, is because on stream, Wolf and Aaron both finished their games within two matches. Aaron took a loss while Wolf took a win, but they did it in 2 matches. However, because they used the same team, I got to watch 4 matches to kind of gather information. So when you top cut a big tournament like this, usually you'll go ahead and you'll try to study up what your opponents are going to be. So since you take from the top, from the bottom, so like tomorrow we know that who's going to be matching up. So like our second seed is going to face our 31st seed, which I have both those teams here. So we can review that a little bit towards the end as well, when we hit the 31st team, and we'll look over how we think that matchup might go. Then we got the Calyrex. We had Astro Barrage and Protect. I was running an Imprison and Trick Room on mine with no Protect, so it could have that. It's probably running Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp is pretty fun. It's a good coverage move. It goes ahead and blocks a lot of the Zacians, a lot of the Groudons, completely ruins them. And it probably has a Psychic move, but you can't be sure. It could have anything as the other 2 slots. Zacian, his was fast, but once again, it had 172 for HP EVs. You can see it with the 189. Once again, I put that 76 in there for Adamant. Threw down 4s and threw in 252. That seems like a decent enough spread to me, especially if you're doing bulky. We did see all the moves, so it had Protect, Behemoth Blade, Sacred Sword, and Substitute. The Substitute came in real handy. I think it might actually be Jolly, because they were throwing out subs pretty consistently. Either way, that seems like a decent enough spread. Incineroar. Their Incineroars were carrying Burning Jealousy, which was cool, so that allowed them to go ahead and burn the Groudons and the Solgaleos and everything like that. Like, it allowed them to burn it, which was, super awesome. and great for momentum. The thing is that when you hit into the Sogoleos, they still get into their weakness policies, and then that puts them back at neutral. We saw that it was max HP. I don't know the rest of the spreads. You know, it might be careful, might be, you know, if it was careful, that'd work. It could have been anything. It's probably bulky. It might be more defensive in nature, just so that way it can survive the max quakes a little bit better. So you might go down to defensive nature and put it as impish. That's probably what it is. It's probably impish, but you don't know. Regieleki had a life orb. It has rising voltage, which is super good. Especially once you get that electric terrain up, then you just wrecking stuff. It had bounce as a kind of attack move and hyper beam. That I felt that was interesting. I ran physical Regieleki and kind of liked it, especially next to Calyrex. So it had basically the lowest amount of HP. So I'm assuming it was this 252 timid. It could have been something slightly different, but I don't think there's too much more to it. You can come up with some super unique spreads. I was running one Regieleki with a Shuka Berry, you know, so there's all sorts of ways to run Regieleki. He's a very good mon. Move pool's not very wide, but you can run it all sorts of way. Rillaboom, Miracle Seed, Grassy Glide, Woodhammer. 204 HP, I think it was 196 in attack, and then I think the rest of it's in speed. The reason I think the rest of it's in speed, or it has a good amount of speed, is so that way it outspeeds all of the Groudons. And you just one-shot it with Woodhammer. It's so nice. I mean, in the IC, I was running both Incineroar and Rillaboom, and I literally got to an endgame one time where it was a Zacian and Groudon versus my Incineroar Rillaboom. And the Zacian missed the KO onto the Rillaboom because Rillaboom, you know, lives through Behemoth Blade. And then I Woodhammered the Zacian. It was, sun was still up, so I Flare Blitzed into the Zacian, and it just OHKO'd it. And I got the OHKO with the Woodhammer. It was great. I actually got really surprised because I had a good endgame going on where I had a Kyogre, but in the sun, but the Zacian went ahead and whipped out a Solar Blade, and I was like, what? So that's what you get in best of ones. Best of threes, you don't usually see crazy stuff like that. Oh shoot. Okay, so then we go down. Ben's team's super interesting. I think it's I've seen some very similar teams, and actually his team is very similar to what I was running. I was running Weezing, but I wasn't running the Regigigas, and I was running Calyrex. But I think his Calyrex is Choice Specs. Didn't really get to see it very much, but I'm pretty sure his Calyrex is Choice Specs. That Astral Barrage did a lot of damage, which made me highly suspicious. It could be timid or modest, but so I mean it did a lot of damage. Hit Astral Barrage for sure. This is the standard Choice Specs set, so you know it could also have Energy Ball instead of that, and it could also have Psyshock. Kyogre, his Kyogre was 100% Scarfed, the basic Scarf set, and it was timid. Knew that for a fact with how everything ran in that team, and it's just a regular Scarf Kyogre. Scarf Kyogre is never bad. It's always good. Weezing, Suga, he had a bunch of HP into it. Not maxed, but he had a good amount. And then he either had 12 here, or he might have actually had 12 in defense. Putting 12 in defense actually would make sense. It might change a role for the max Quake into Protect, which left him with 3 HP in the stream. So I also felt that was something that he may have, like, it was first time was the Shuka Berry against Groudon, and then he went into Protect and still lived. So I think that there's a slight amount of EVs into defense, and that's why he took out from attack from HP. Common set, nothing more. Regigigas. So we were talking about this earlier. I think the Regigigas speed is at 150. He has a lot of HP. 244. So he has a bulky Regigigas. It outsped Joey's Yveltal, so I'm pretty sure we're at 150 for speed because it had to outspeed the Venusaur without Sun and everything like that. So I'm putting at 150 speed. I think this is his set. He used Giga Impact for, of course, your best Max Strike, Darkest Lariat, High Horsepower, and then Protect. A lot of people were running Wide Guard, and the set that I've seen before had Wide Guard on it, so I figure that it might have that. But it had Protect. He showed that. Ninja, I'm pretty sure it had Safety Goggles. It might not even had any speed. Sometimes people are funny and they go ahead and just put all of them in HP. I mean, literally the only stats that matter is attack. Speed may matter a little bit, but there's no reason not to run full attack. He had Endure and he had Poltergeist. I think the other ones were Shadow Sneak and Ally Switch. Unsure, but I'm pretty sure he had Safety Goggles. Usually they don't run Endure unless they have safety, if they're running Focus Sash. And I think the Focus Sash is on Barraskewda because Regigigas has the Life Orb, so I think Barraskewda has a Focus Sash on it. We didn't see anything from this beautiful creature. So I think it's either Swish Swim or Propeller Tail. That would make sense. Let's say some of them have sub. It doesn't have any grass moves, so I don't know what we would run to be, anti-Gastrodon besides for, if we want to run Propeller Tail and just go somewhere else. But it might have been Swift Swim to be able to get over some things as well and maybe speed up Kyogre. Kyogre doesn't outspeed Regieleki, so it could have been tech to outspeed Regieleki as well. So you could do that. All right. So on to our next. We drop all the way down to 29. Niels, his Incineroar, max HP again. See, we were having a lot of max HP Mons. So that's been interesting. He had Shuka, Fake Out, Throat Chop. He probably had Flare Blitz. Everybody runs the same set for Incineroar. It's just such a good Mon. It's just staple, and everybody's running Shuka on it because all the Groudons. Calyrex Shadow. His was a really greedy set. Resit running Focus Sash. So it wasn't running Life Orb. So I'm pretty sure it's Spell Tag because the only attack that I think it had was Astral Barrage. Well, the only attack it had was Astral Barrage because it had Nasty Plot, Substitute, and Protect. Had 12 EVs into HP, which is an odd number, so he had a calc something. 252 speed, I assume, unless he ran it slightly slower. And then the rest is probably special attack, but he could have put it into bulk. I mean, the 12 HP makes me think he puts it into bulk, but I really don't know. It's not the bump right there, so I don't know what he ran it as, but it didn't really do anything. It pretty much just got KO'd without too much work, so it had Astral Barrage, though. Rillaboom didn't bring it. Zacian. Behemoth Blade, Protect, Close Combat. Last move's up for debate. It probably had Play Rough. It had 124 EVs in HP. I don't know if it was Jolly or Adamant. The only way I could tell on my teams when I was running in the IC was if they outsped the modest Choice Scarf Kyogre, then they were Jolly Adamant or Jolly like max speed. If they weren't, then they just got KO'd anyways, so I never knew. It's basically if you want to outspeed other ones, but I think most of them are running Adamant, and very similar to what I was talking about before. You're running like 76 and near max. So I don't know what he's running it as. Maybe he ran more attack. Something. I don't know. But everybody's running these bulky Zacians. He probably had some maybe in bulk, but HP is your lowest base stat, so putting all of your investments in HP is the most bang for your buck. Reggie, It had Hyper Beam and had Thunderbolt. It didn't. It had minimum HP, so it's probably just timid with 4 thrown onto defense. Item, it didn't look like it had Life Orb, so Magnet was probably it. And this probably was just Electro Red. He didn't bring the Blastoids, so we don't know. But, well, I see a lot of people with the G-Max Blastoids. It's pretty cool. Alright, so for our last one is our 31st team, which I found to be one of the most fun teams, actually. I really like the Lunala on here. So you have a Zacian. He's running 140 HP on it. Once again, I'm thinking all these are bulky adamant with like 76-ish, and then he could have been that, and then something around there. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. Something like that. I haven't calced super specific ones. I've literally just ran, full speed ones or, decently bulky ones. Lunala was super cool. It had 44 EVs in HP. I would think that I would have some in defense because that's its lowest stat. You're not getting all of your bang for your buck. Now, the cool thing about it was that it did outspeed his Urshifu, so actually I could probably come up with a better speed. 163. So what do we need to get to 163? We need to be timid. 163. Ooh, interesting. So if we do that, that means that you were 1 speed short. Was he? So, yeah, because Lunala outsped him. Okay. Which that's interesting. They're the same speed, so he has to be 1 short. Lunala outsped him and would go ahead and down a max and use the max ghost or the max poltergeist, and then Urshifu would come in and just swack everything. You just close combat or wicked blow, like he wicked blowed into the G-Max Blastoids and just one-shotted it. It was pretty awesome. It's like the opposite of me using Regieleki with the max darkness to help out Calyrex Shadow Rider to one-shot things. So, I mean, I thought that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that a lot. And I do like Lunala as a Pokemon, so I was kind of partial. So I think the set's something like that. That would make sense. Thundurus, didn't get to see it. On this team, I think it would be support. I'm pretty sure it would be support. So, I mean, you got either Rising Voltage or the T-Bolt. You got Scary Face. You probably have, not Hurricane. Alright, actually, no. You probably do Wild Charge. You probably do Wild Charge, Scary Face, Protect. I don't think he has anywhere else. Or Urshifu had the Focus Sash, or it could have been an actual Defiant model. I didn't know. I wasn't able to see it in the stream, so don't know. We're just speculating. It would make sense to be some sort of speed control. This could be Eerie Impulse. Just because Lunala could have also had Trick Room here. You could have also had Wide Guard. This team was pretty quick. I forgot these in this gen you can't get Tailwind, so yeah, so he could have had Trick Room or Wide Guard, either one. We did know that the Rillaboom was Life Orb, which was cool. It had Grassy Glide and high horsepower and Fake Out. And we knew it was 188. I think it was 252 and then 68 to try to outspeed some of the Groudons. Urshifu was the basic sets. Like I said, I think it's one underneath the Lunala, so it puts it at 162 for that weird speed stat of 97. And we saw all the moves. Super cool. I really did like it. Last was Ditto. Ditto had a choice scarf, and you only run Ditto sets exactly the same. 252 HP. If you really like debate about it, you can run some in defenses in case you can't somehow transform. Like if Weezing's out on the field. I had an IC game where I used Weezing, and they let out with Ditto, and I let out with Weezing, and their Ditto didn't transform. It was pretty funny, but they were focus sashed actually, funny enough. But I enjoyed that quite a bit. So like I said, we do know that this 31st seat is going to be facing off against our second seat here. We'll kind of look that over here. Oops. Okay, so kind of looking at this for initial predictions. They both have Lunala, which is super cool. That's actually super hype for a match. I really want to watch that. Our 31st seat's going to definitely bring the Urshifu. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't want to bring Urshifu. Though there's not too much prevention onto Guillermo, our second seat, bringing in Venusaur and going ahead, and because he gets weather automatically. If he gets weather automatically, that means you want to bring in either the Ditto, which you can transform into Venusaur, or the Rillaboom. If you bring in the Rillaboom, then you have to hope that he doesn't max. So I'm going to say that second seat's going to lead with Incineroar Venusaur. That was actually one of his favorite leads anyways. Groudon in the back, Lunala in the back. And then our 31st seat, he might go ahead and lead off with Rillaboom and either Zacian or the Urshifu. He may go ahead and lead out with Lunala, and we find out that it does have Trick Room. That would work out pretty well if he did that. I think that's how it's gonna go. I think Incineroar Venusaur with Groudon Lunala in the back, and then I think we're gonna lead out Rillaboom Lunala. Or, yeah, Rillaboom Lunala seems like it makes sense, or allows you to do a fake out and hit, but if he Dynamaxes, or Gigantamax, and then go ahead and Weather Ball, he should know that he has Weather Ball and can OHKO the Rillaboom. If the Thundurus has Taunt, that's also another one, so he might have Taunt on that Thundurus, and that might be his anti getting slipped. But I don't see why I wouldn't try it. Like, there's no reason for him not to lead Venusaur against that team. Venusaur literally can hit super effective into 1, 2 Mons and practically OHKO them. He can get up the Vine Lash, which only Mon that... well, technically 2, because Rillaboom will be able to, not take that residual damage. Ditto might not be able to if he transforms into Venusaur. Which that would be kind of, cool thing, transform into Venusaur, and then Scarf, Sleep Powder things, and, take Ditto back when you're done sleeping things. That might work. Alright, thanks for watching. If you watched all this through and me ranting about what I think everybody's teams are in the top top 32 of the streamers that we've had. We will have, the top 32 going tomorrow. I have work because I work weekends, so I won't be able to watch it on time. Though I probably will watch it after work. I get off pretty late, so I don't foresee me making any videos or anything like that. I would go ahead and think that it's going to be closer to, when I get off, that I would be able to make any videos. But I'll probably watch it and review it a little bit. And we can see how close I was. You guys can leave in comments how close I was, or, be like, you were totally off. You called the wrong item. Did you pay attention at all? All right. Well, please like and subscribe. I think I'm going to try to start making videos more often again. I have this cool little microphone that my sister got me for Christmas. I have a lovely house that I live in now, and a room to... I have pets and, my computer in here and my game systems in here, so it's my own little, office space. So it's pretty nice to be able to play. Well, if you guys have any other video ideas, give me a shout. I just recently fixed this mic in the camera, so they actually work, so you can actually hear me versus me playing the game music too loud. If you have any video ideas, just give me a shout. Tell me what's up, and I will see if I can make them. All right.